Hi, my cuties. Happy Wednesday. I miss you so much this morning. I've been thinking about all of you and how you've been doing. I hope that you're feeling comfortable and that your families and friends are all safe, and just sending you a big virtual hug today. So today is Wednesday, April 15th. Shortcut date is 4/15/20. Today on the agenda, you had Math Story 3.3, workbook pages in the math packet 36, 37, and then of course math facts. Samuel, I saw that you commented asking where the math facts section is. There's actually not a math facts section in the packet itself, but I do need you to go online and do either resources from Clever or Math Monster Playground or your Math Master game, physical game that you have. So just practicing those math facts for about 10 minutes a day if you're fluent, and if you're not currently fluent in math facts or you feel as though you might have lost your fluency since we've been out of the school building, then you should be practicing 10 to 20 minutes per day. ELA, you had constructed response and ready lesson 6, 96, 97, and 99. As always, I'm going to start today's video with some shout outs. Lexi, I did see your request for a super butterfly, but I did not see it until right before I sat down. So I will get you your butterfly sometime this week. It just won't be in this video. Okay. Awesome job. I had comments from Tristan, Fernanda, Lexi, Samuel, Siraj, London, Cody, Serena, Audrey, and Monica. Thank you guys so much for informing me that you are doing your work. I'm incredibly proud of you. The people on this list have been extremely consistent. So pat on the back. Awesome work. Today, I'm going to go over the constructed response, and then, as I said in yesterday's video, I'm going to go over Math Story 8.15, because 3.3 is just, I'm not going to use the E word because it's not, but I figured that 8.15, since we still had it blank, would be a better use of our time. Yes? Okay, so before we dive into the constructed response for ELA, let's go over our sight or vocabulary words for the week. For ELA, we have, repeat after me, laundry, section, shelves, spoiled, store, thousands, traded, variety. And what skill are we focusing on this week? Yes, you who's watching? Yes, character traits and narrative writing. Awesome job. Character traits are, see if you can verbalize it to yourself. Character traits are words that describe a character's personality or qualities that make them who they are. In other words, how would you describe that character to someone else? And I added a few more examples. Examples of character traits could be silly, lazy, responsible, authentic, funny, wild. So for today, when you comment your name and done, I would love if you would please come up with one character trait that you think describes you. And we all have multiple character traits, right? We're all very multifaceted human beings, but what's one that describes you? So I would say one for me would be silly. Like, I love to be silly, I love to smile, I love to laugh. So that's definitely one of my character traits. So type your name, done, and a character trait of yours. So you should have read through the shopping trip again. Maybe you were able to kind of skim through it this time since you've already read it, excuse me, closely for understanding. 2 days ago. But the question that you were presented was, look back to page 10. What kind of person is Casey? So again, this is connected to our skill for the week. This is a character trait question, but the author's also asking you to go back to page 10 and determine what page 10 specifically says about Casey, right? So again, just like we are, Casey probably has a lot of character traits throughout the book that we can recognize, but this one is specifically focused on page 10, so that's also where your evidence should have come from. My response says, based on Casey's actions on page 10 of the shopping trip, I can conclude that she is a helpful and supportive person, and I meant to highlight supportive as well, because helpful and supportive are the character traits that I chose based on page 10 for Casey. On page 10, the author shows Casey explaining kindly to her father that he selected the wrong diaper pack and handed him the correct one. So as you can see here, I don't have any quotation marks in my evidence because I decided to paraphrase. So I was looking at the page and I took Casey's actions and put them in my own words, but I still had to say on page 10 because that's where my evidence is coming from. So when you don't take an exact sentence that the author stated explicitly on the page, that's called paraphrasing. We have talked about it a few times before, but we haven't mastered the skill in class, so I wanted to give you an example here. My explain is, this shows that Casey is genuinely just trying to assist her dad with the shopping duties as best as she can. What would you give me? A 0, 1, or a 2? And why would you give me that score? Think about that as you are looking and rereading your own work. So that's also something I really want you to keep in mind, that for this work, you should also be checking your work. That's part of being a strong scholar, right? So you shouldn't be just finishing the work and then putting it away and taking it out for the video. Make sure that you're rereading your own work and making sure that it sounds smooth and something that you would feel comfortable turning in. So I hope that you did do 8.15. If you didn't, go ahead and pause the video and just do it now because it doesn't take very long and I think that you'll enjoy it. And this is the last one, math story that we have of that compilation that I gave you right before we left for the initial COVID break. So it says, Caitlin and Tina each have a garden of the same size and shape. Caitlin grows flowers in 1/6 of her garden. Tina grows flowers in 1/3 of her garden. Who has a bigger section of flowers in her garden? So for my model, I know that using rectangular shapes is going to give me a more accurate perception of the actual number of pieces, right? It's very difficult sometimes to draw freehand as third graders circles and make them even. So I did rectangles right on top of each other. So I have Caitlin's flower garden and I have Tina's here. Caitlin has a denominator of 6, meaning that she has a garden with 6 total pieces in it, and the flowers take over 1/6, as you can see here. Tina has a denominator of 3, meaning that she has 3 total pieces in her garden, and she has 1 that is covered with flowers. You can see here, I drew a dotted line from Caitlin's through Tina's, and you can see that Tina's is, in fact, bigger. We can also see that in order for them to be more equal, we would have to have 2 pieces of Caitlin's model filled in, but we only have the 1 in red. So I can determine based on my model that Tina has more of her garden covered, and the answer is Tina. In my equation side, I also figured out that 2/6 is equal to 1/3, and therefore 1/6 must be less than 1/3. And the equation that I have at the bottom is that 1/3 is greater than 1/6. 9 minutes, oh my gosh. I'm so sorry that the Tales of Despero got cut off yesterday. As I was reading, someone FaceTimed me, so it came up on my iPad and it just closed the video. So I apologize for that. In the video, I did catch for you that the princess was asleep. She was dreaming about her mom, that her mom disappeared. So I'm going to reread page 189 so that we can make sure that we're caught up. So get comfy, cozy. I gave you a small taste that you would remember. This is still her dream. I want more. But as soon as the princess said this, her mother was gone. She disappeared, and the bowl and the soup spoon disappeared along with her. Lost things, said the pea. more lost things, and then she heard her name. She turned, happy, thinking that it was her mother that had come back. But the voice was not her mother's. The voice belonged to somebody else, and it was coming from someplace far away, and it was telling her to wake up, wake up. The pea opened her eyes and saw Miggery So standing over her bed, a knife in one hand and a candle in the other. "Mig," she said. Said Mig softly. "Say it," commanded Roscoe from her pocket. Remember, the rat Roscoe's in Mig's pocket. Mig closed her eyes and shouted her piece. "If you does not want to get hurt, princess, you must come with me." "Whatever for?" said the princess in a surprised tone. As I have noted before, the princess was not a person who was used to being told what to do. "What are you talking about?" Mig opened her eyes and shouted. "You got to come with me, so after we take some lessons, you some long lessons and me some short ones, together way down in the deep downs, I can be you and you can be me." "No!" shouted Roscoe from Mig's pocket. "No, no, no! What are you doing? You're doing it all wrong." "Who said that?" said Princess Pea. "Your Highness," said Roscoe, and he crawled out of Mig's pocket and made his way up to her shoulder and situated himself there, laying his tail across her neck to balance himself. "Your Highness," he said again, and he raised the spoon slowly off his head and smiled, displaying his mouthful of truly hideous teeth. "I think it would be best if you do as Miggery So suggests. She is, as you can quite clearly see, in possession of a knife, a large knife, and she will, if pushed, use it." "This is ridiculous," the princess said. "You can't threaten me. I'm a princess." "We," said Roscoe, "are all too aware of the fact of what you are. A knife, however, cares nothing for the fact that you are royalty. And if it hits you, you will bleed, and I assume you will bleed just like any other human." The pea looked at Mig. Mig smiled. The knife glints in the light of the candle. "Mig," she said, her voice shaking the tiniest bit. "I really do not think," said Roscoe, "that Mig would need much persuasion to use the knife, princess. She is a dangerous individual, easily led." "But we are friends," said the pea. "Aren't we, Mig?" Said Mig. "Trust me," said Roscoe the rat. "You are not friends, and I think it would be best if you addressed all of your communications to me, princess. I am the one in charge here. Look at me." The pea looked right directly at the rat and the spoon on his head. Her heart skipped one beat, and then two. "Do you know me, princess?" "No," she said, lowering her head. "I don't know you." But reader, she did know him. He was the rat who had fallen in her mother's soup, and he was wearing her dead mother's spoon on his head. The princess kept her head down. She concentrated on containing the rage that was leaping up inside of her. "Look again, princess, or you do you not bear to look? Does it pain your royal sensibilities to let your eyes rest on a rat?" "I don't know you," she said, "and I'm not afraid to look at you." The pea raised her head slowly. Her eyes were defiant. She stared at the rat. "Very well," said Roscoe. "Have it your way. You do not know me. Nonetheless, you must do as I say, as my friend here has a knife. So, get out of bed, princess. We are going on a little journey. I would like it if you dressed in your loveliest gown, one that you would wear to a banquet, one that you might have worn to a banquet already, not so long ago." "And put on your crown," said Mig. "Put that on your princess head." "Yes," said Roscoe. "Please, princess, do not forget your crown." The pea, still staring at Roscoe, pushed the covers back and got out of bed. "Move quickly," said Roscoe. "We must take our little journey while it is still dark and while the rest of the castle sleeps on. Ignorant, oh, so ignorant. I'm afraid of your fate." The princess took a gown from her closet. Yes, said Roscoe to himself, that's the one, the very one. Look at how it sparkles in the light. Lovely. I will need someone to do my buttons, said the princess as she stepped into the dress. Mig, must you help me? Little princess, said Roscoe, do you think that you can outsmart a rat? Our dear Miggeryso will not lay down her knife, not even for a moment. Will you, Miggeryso? Because that might ruin your chances of becoming a princess. Isn't that right? Said Mig, that's right. And so while Mig held the knife pointed in the direction of the princess, the pea sat and let the rat crawl over her back, doing her buttons up for her one by one. The princess held very still. The only movement she allowed herself was this. She licked her lips over and over again because she thought she could taste their sweet saltiness of the soup that her mother had fed her in her dream. I have not forgotten, Mama, she whispered. I have not forgotten you, and I have not forgotten the soup. Bum, bum, bum. All right, my cuties, I hope you have a wonderful day. If you do talk to any of your friends, like on Google Classroom or Roblox or email, just check on each other and see how each other are doing, how you guys are handling everything, if each other has been doing the work, and if work has been something that has come not easily but is simple for you to get done. Maybe you want to check in on a friend and ask if you can support in any way. But I love and miss you all very much, and I hope that you have a great rest of your day and a wonderful sleep, and I'll be back on tomorrow.